Man, I really wish there was a wedge that was a little more game improvements for some of those guys that maybe can't get it up and down as easy.
Yeah, that's where the Mack Daddy comes in. We're gonna test it out.
Next.
Got the Mack Daddy CB wedges coming in here. They have a deep cavity to them, so we're looking at a slightly larger head, thicker top line. You've got 2 sole options for better consistency. Full soles on the lower lofts, helping out with more turf interaction, and the W grind in the mid and higher lofts for a little more forgiveness in that thickness. The big thing that stands out is on the face. So you've got more of a classic look to the face, even though these have a little bit thicker bottom line, kind of helping out, maybe falling in line with that Sure Out, that really fat one that they had. The big difference that we see is on your lofts that are 46 to 52, so that kind of pitch and wedge gap area. You have your classic traditional grooves where it stops at the toe. Then whenever you jump to your 54 and 60, full face groove, kind of that PM grind looking thing.
So real quick, the full groove thing.
Yes.
Why? I know the answer to this, but for the people,
I mean,
why are the full grooves important versus the non-full? And you can see here where obviously you don't have the full groove, but.
Yeah, I mean, you've got, whenever you're getting balls that are running up the face, things that you're getting up there, you're still catching a little bit with it.
Sure.
Now, kind of unconventional, whenever, like I know I was kind of taught in things whenever you're playing that you can kind of move the ball more out towards the toe with less groove and get it to roll out and do different things. But then you got Phil, who kind of was the person who trademarked this with Callaway and got off the start.
I think the thing that's important to note is if you're looking at new wedges, for starters, there's a lot of different theories and techniques. Mm-hmm. Not all of them are right or wrong for every person. It's just what you prefer. So you have
player dependent.
Yeah, you have to have a firm understanding of what you want to get out of your wedges. Like, for instance, I treat every single one of my wedges the same. Most people, when they buy a set of wedges, buy the same wedge with a similar grind, with a similar everything. Mm-hmm. I treat them all differently. My 58 lob wedge 60 used to be, when I was on Callaway, I used to have the PM grind and the big high toe and the grooves all the way, because that club for me was never outside of 30 or 40 yards. I always was looking to create spin, create loft, do kind of crazy things with it, right? Mm-hmm. But then I went right back down to the standard Mack Daddy for my basic chips, things I wanted to bump and run more a little bit, and it didn't have the grooves all the way to the end. So when you're selecting wedges, you need to understand what you want out of that wedge and know that you can't, unfortunately, hit everything. There's wedges that do a lot.
Yeah. Also with that, I know you said the Mack Daddy, so they've got, in case you're confused on this, Callaway's got 2 different profiles of wedges. They've got the Mack Daddy CB, which is their cavity back.
This guy.
And then they have their Mack Daddy or their Jaws, which is their, I think they're on the more traditional 5. Yeah. Now, that's your classic looking
and wedge. That's the more traditional wedge. Mm-hmm. That's the one you're probably used to seeing. This guy is new to the lineup.
Yes.
I think a lot of guys, we even talked about this off camera, I go, this would not be a bad option if you're looking for like a gap wedge, more of a full swing one. Mm-hmm. Even as a better player, if you're trying to get a certain distance out of it, and it is more of a full swing club and you very rarely chip with it.
Yeah.
So this isn't just necessarily for a better player or a worse player, or somebody that maybe doesn't have the ability to get the ball up or create spin.
Again, it goes back to what are you trying to get out of the wedge? This has a fatter sole and all that kind of stuff. If you traditionally play on very hard, tight lies, I don't know if that's for you.
Right.
If it's going to be looking like that with a whole bunch of bounce.
And I'll say we're not going to get into grinds, because grinds is a whole separate thing. That's what we really need to get like the guys over at Artiston and talk about grinds, because nobody understands it better than they do. I know that my grinds and my Honma wedges are not right, at least for me.
Not what you're looking for.
So yeah, let's just say I have a tendency to stick some clubs in the ground pretty hard and flub some shots. So
here we go. So let's give it some rips. Callaway is saying that these will help out with spin, create a little bit more spin, all that kind of stuff. Kind of along the same lines.
Which one do you have in your hand?
I have the 54.
54, okay.
Mm-hmm. So we got 73 yards. Pop this one up a little different look that we've had, being that we're hitting wedges, we can kind of see some things, hold greens. Mm-hmm. We still have our same tiles up there, data coming. We added one that's from pin, so we can see kind of how close we get, that kind of stuff. Just cause, but here we go. Let's let her rip. see what we see. A little chunky.
Seems to still take off pretty good though.
Yeah.
And I think that's where these bigger soles, ooh, a little rip back there.
Chunky with a rip back. So what they're saying about spin.
Yeah, so far, right.
8,600 on a chunk, that's
right.
We'll take
pretty good. I will say, we're not going to talk a whole lot about turf interaction, which is a big part of wedges, because we're inside on a mat. You know, I know we're
Friction.
inside a lot. I'm not going to lie, the weather is rather crappy outside.
yeah, we ain't going outside right now. So even that right there, good thing for the high toe
Coated.
grooves.
And that's where that came in. You still got 8,000 spin off of a far right side, you know?
Mm-hmm. They're holding good.
Now if you just, you know, aim towards the little pin a little bit better.
Yeah, maybe we can aim at the hole.
There you go. Right down the line. Spin back in the hole.
Zip.
Yeah, they're holding really well for you.
I mean,
So the distance seems consistent even on the miss hit, because you have you have 4 shots up, 2 miss hits, 1 toe, 1 fat. Now 5, and you didn't miss hit that one. You just left it off to the right again.
no, and
But
I'll
that's
be
your
honest.
MO, isn't it?
I'll be honest. I think we're lined up a little bit right with the TrackMan,
Excuses.
because I'm hitting those pretty straight down. And it's
Excuses.
there you go, hit them. Aim straight. Aim straight. See where it goes.
Good thing I pulled the ball.
Yeah.
It feels a little heavier in the head than most do. I think that's probably just because of the extra weight.
Well, hopefully it does have good head weight. I mean, I'm not going to call any companies out, but
Getting light.
when we already popped off about Artisan and how they do stuff for us, you know, when I go over there, I take stuff over there a lot for them to work on.
Seems fun to me.
And
Long.
yeah, you hit it too far.
Yeah.
Head weights are one
Stronger
of the
than you. What do you
biggest.
want?
Yeah, head weights are one of the biggest things that people struggle with.
Yeah.
I say people, club companies
Right.
struggle with, and they cheat.
So that was chunky.
They cheat swing weight scales and do stuff by putting slugs in shafts and all these other things.
Yep.
If you don't, and this is a time for another video or a podcast or something, but
Or the podcast.
head weight trumps swing weight all day long. And if you don't believe me, you don't have to believe me, but
I don't.
maybe you probably should.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, you know, you start talking about head weight. Remember, slugs are a real thing. I pulled some out of one of my professionals clubs, and we asked them not to do that because we wanted to get a true head weight, and we didn't. And so we've been fighting his clubs because they slugged them instead of weighing the heads.
Lead tape's better than slugs.
Yes. Well, whole separate thing. I will say, it's a little awkward looking, this club, if you are used to. Never mind. It's great looking.
Great.
Going in the bag today. It's a little awkward looking without the high toe. If you never hit a high toe, the high toe is an awkward looking golf club if you're not used to it. Now, as soon as you lay it open, it starts to make sense. But if you square it up normal, it's a little awkward. And there's 2 things. 1, the high toe, and then B, that the grooves go all the way to the end.
Yeah, it just draws your attention to the high toe.
Yeah,
with the
so
grooves.
this is not a high toe. Let's start by saying that.
Yeah, it's like a normal looking face.
Standard head,
Yeah.
way thicker top line than I'm used to seeing in most wedges. Again, we kind of talked about that with the Mizuno
ES21.
ES21. That was a little thicker top line as well. It's awkward seeing a regular face with grooves all the way. Doesn't mean it's bad.
No.
Just be aware of that. If you prefer a traditional look, high side stuff, where did you say the line was?
46 to 52 is classic grooves, and then basically 54 to 60.
So your higher side irons, you have the option of getting the standard grooves. That's going to look a little more traditional. Again, that's just personal preference at that point. We always talk about it. If you're getting fit, the 3 things we can't fit for are the GoPro turning off. Can't fit for that. The 3 things we can't fit for are look, feel, and sound.
Yeah.
That's on you guys, essentially. And so if you don't like the way this looks, don't even worry about it.
Yeah.
Not worth it. Let's see if I can hold one. Closer than the last one. Oh, it was chunky.
To the right. I don't believe we're lined up correctly. Still holds. I mean, you're getting decent amounts of spin.
If you're having, I would say that this club is really meant for somebody that if you're struggling with maybe centerness of contact, sometimes a little fat, a little thin. I'm not saying missing the ball completely, but you're not used to putting as consistent of a move onto it. This absolutely take a look at it. It's doing
Yep.
everything that they asked to do with it. It's not. I mean, I nuked that first one. Other than that, our dispersion pattern wasn't too awful.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like you're saying, it is a little bigger. It's still that kind of classic teardrop look. It is a little bit bigger than, say, like if you were getting into like the Mack Daddy, like the Jaws wedges or whatever, start popping everything on Vokeys and RTXs and those things. That classic forged look, it's a little bit bigger, but it's not bad at all.
Well, and it's still generating spin. I chunked that pretty good, and it still got 7,300, which was just enough for it to kind of check up a little bit. But if you really wanted to pinch one, in fact, you know what? Just for the fun of it, I want to try and pinch one real
And
quick.
especially in here, because we're, like Ryan said before, you're hitting off a mat, so friction, you're not catching any flyers, you don't have any grass getting,
Right.
you don't have any grass getting in between you and the ball. So,
Yeah.
and it hit right above the ridge too.
What ridge? That was just all skill, baby. But that spin's probably 9,000. Close. 88.65. I pinched it, but there's only going to be so much that we get off the mat. So, yeah, you can still create more spin if you want to. Just get a little steep on it and get that ball to ride the face a little bit more.
Sweet.
It's a good club. I think I'm surprised most by feel.
Yes.
It feels nice and solid. It doesn't feel like most game improvement clubs kind of feel clanky sometimes.
Yeah. And they don't sound good.
Yeah, this at least in here sounds good, feels good. Which is, again, can't fit for those things. So.
No, you can check it out. One thing I did leave off, the KBS High Rev, that's the standard steel shaft that comes in it.
Yeah.
So
You can put whatever you need in it, essentially.
Yeah, you can put in whatever, but that's what it comes with. It's a good wedge shaft.
Yeah.
So, Mack Daddy, good stuff. Check it out. CB from Callaway. Thank you for checking in.
See you later.